Welcome to day 2 of the Humans to Mars Summit, coming to you from George Washington University in Washington, D.C. I'm Matt Kaplan of the Planetary Society, as you may be able to see on the hat, and very happy to be here once again to anchor the live stream. We will be with you all day once again on this second and final day of the summit. It has been my great pleasure to do this. We've lost track for something like 10 years now. We have another terrific day of great presentations and panels lined up for you. We're going to get that underway very shortly on the stage when I introduce the CEO of Explore Mars, Chris Carberry, who will in turn introduce us once again to the president of Explore Mars, J.R. Edwards. And we'll talk a little bit later about some of the stuff you can look forward to. But we will be here right up to, I believe, 5 p.m. Eastern Time today. And for those of you, anybody out there on the west coast of the United States, thank you for joining us so early in the morning. I have a terrific guest, someone I love to talk to, who's going to join us for this opening, and that's Jim Green. Welcome, Jim.
Hey, Matt. How's it going?
Very well.
Good.
Is NASA Chief Scientist Emeritus? Does that sound good?
Well, that's what it ends up being. You know, you have to retire to something. But I'm having fun. As you can see, I'm still very active, not only in research. I've done a couple papers since I've left NASA, but also very active in how the program can be shaped and really excel in what we do in space.
You have been a very active participant here yesterday. Mm-hmm. Lots of great questions for panelists, for presenters. And it was kind of fun to call on you in the audience with a question. When I was sitting next to your descendant, Lori Glaze, who now heads planetary science, which was another job you had for a long time. How long?
12 years. 12 years, which is a long time.
Yeah.
I think the average is 2.8 years. So Lori's done that now, so she's one of the few that have made it well past that. It's a very difficult job because you really take on recognizing that it supports a huge community that's making enormous progress and scientific discoveries almost every day. And when things don't always go right, and you can be very disappointed or even depressed, and then you try to figure out, how do I, stand back up and go forward again. So this is in the area of missions, big missions in particular. Always have the start-stop activity going on. Like Mars Sample Return right now. It's a perfect example. But I have to tell you, that's actually the standard operating procedures. I mean, I'll give you an example. Europa Clipper, we're launching that in October. Yeah. We're launching a fantastic mission, but that's not the mission we originally planned.
What was planned? Not a lander. Was it a lander and an orbiter?
No, it was an orbiter of Europa.
Okay.
And in the radiation belt, it would only last 90 days. Now, when I was head of planetary, and we had many missions, Phoenix was a mission that went to Mars, landed in the northern hemisphere, what we would call above the Arctic Circle. It was only going to last for 90 days, when then the winter would overtake it, which it did. And so I watched how the team worked, and the stress on the team was unbelievable. So the ability for that team to be able to get results, analyze them, figure out what the next thing to do, upload those commands, and do that iteration, when in reality, you're also trying to stay on a Mars day. So you have sleep deprivation, you have responsibilities in reporting your data, you have responsibilities in doing the next best thing based on what you find out from it just was a nightmare, okay? So I thought, gee, are we going to do that with another community, the Outer Planets community? The other aspect of that is we also had instruments like the radar. And the radar is going to collect an enormous amount of data. But the problem is, since we're orbiting Europa, we can't send it all back. So that means we had to develop a capability on board to analyze the data on board and bring a subset back.
Which is a very smart spacecraft.
Which is way too smart spacecraft in a radiation environment that all it takes is a single event upset, and 3 days later you might come back up. okay? Just think of Galileo, okay? So all those problems really prevented us from going forward with a really solid plan. And then a miracle happened, as it usually does in this business. Somebody came up with a better idea. And the reason why we wanted to orbit Europa is we have a mantra in planetary science. It's flyby, which gives you the initial assessment of what's going on, okay? Orbit, so you can get high-resolution information and what you need to do the next step, which is land and return samples, all right? Now, we've done this with the moon. We're nearly there with Mars, and there's many objects out there we want to do that with. It'd be fabulous to bring a sample back from Europa. So we also have to have high-resolution imaging, okay, on Europa Clipper, which we do, of course. So what was happening with Cassini and Titan, we were doing flybys of Titan by orbiting Saturn, but we were putting together a global picture of the body, just as if we were orbiting it. So that one idea, let's orbit Jupiter with flybys of Europa, allowing us to dip in the radiation belts, do the flyby, get the high-resolution imaging of a scan, come back out, and send all the data back. And then extend the time, not a 90-day mission, but perhaps a couple-year mission. That won the day, and we were able to move forward with it. I was able to get a new start, got Charlie Bolden's approval, John Grenfell's approval, went to OMB, got Congress's money, and now we have Europa Clipper.
It's got to feel good to know that the Juno mission was kind of a proof of concept for this approach, right? I saw Bob Pappalardo just last week, the leader of the Europa Clipper mission, and he said, you bet, does that make us feel a lot better about our chance to hang out at Jupiter and Europa for a long time?
Well, there's another couple things we're learning from Juno. So we put the electronics in a vault, okay? Yeah. You know, so that as it goes through the radiation belts, it's able to survive and come back. But the camera, which was added, and was an outreach activity, but it's proving to be a wonderful, well, I would say, science instrument.
Which was not expected, right? I mean, it was basically something for the public?
Yes, and because its electronics is not in the vault, we didn't expect it to last. But guess what? It's doing fantastic. I can't be happier.
And how? Yeah. Right. Beautiful, gorgeous, gorgeous images coming back.
It is. So the bottom line is these strategic missions, okay, that are very expensive, but we get tremendous payoff, you know, from them. We push the technology envelope a little bit. Sometimes maybe too much. You know, Curiosity, when I came to NASA, and Curiosity was my first big strategic mission, I sat and recognized, hey, I need 10 miracles. I'm going to not do missions with 10 miracles anymore, you know, although they pulled them all off, okay, and that was fantastic. So those kind of missions really go through a torturous path before we really settle in on the right way to do them.
I would love to talk with you some more about Mars sample return and what that is meaning across all of planetary scientists and what it means for the head of planetary science at NASA. But I see Chris Carberry coming out on stage, so we'll have to save that conversation for another time, Jim.
All right. Well, part of that, listen to my talk today.
Absolutely, and we will stick around for that. I certainly will be here, and hopefully we'll get lots of other folks who've joined us remotely to do that as well. Thank you very much, Jim.
Oh, my great pleasure. Thank you, Matt.
So that's Jim Green, as I said, former chief scientist, and for 12 years, the head of the Planetary Science Division within NASA. Chris Carberry is up there.